Start, Fletch.
King Solomon was once presented with an unsolvable puzzle. Two women both claimed that a baby was theirs, and Solomon could not discern who the real mother was. With clear sight, he came to a conclusion that he should cut the baby in half, which terrified the real mother, while the fake mother was merely indifferent. It is the clear sight of Solomon, the ability to discern a just end in seemingly unsolvable puzzles, that is the virtue of prudence. Without prudence, Solomon would not return the baby to its real mother, and would fail in reaching a just end. Virtue is a habit of excellence in the achievement of just ends, and leads to happiness. Prudence is the meeting place between eternal truths and possible good of action. It allows us to see what is good in confusing and changing circumstances, and to act to achieve a just end. Without prudence, the other virtues would be blind, as it is the clear sight that identifies the golden mean, which is the target of right action in different circumstances. First, I will argue that prudence is the virtue that allows us to see and act on just ends. Then, I will argue that prudence is the virtue that allows virtue to exist. And finally, I will argue that prudence is the most important virtue in politics. Prudence is the clear sight that sees through changing circumstances and leads us to just ends. It looks to unchanging truths in order to see how we must act in these changing circumstances to identify the best action to take to achieve a just end. Aristotle confirms that prudence is needed in many different circumstances by saying, it must also recognize the particulars, for it is practical, and practice is concerned with particulars. The golden mean is the target of right action depending on the circumstance. When the golden mean is habit, it is the excellence of the virtues. Prudence is what identifies the golden mean and allows us to have excellence of virtue. Aristotle says that a man of practical wisdom is able to deliberate well about what is good and expedient for himself, about the sorts of things that conduce to the good life. A prudent person, then, will see that an action that appears cowardly, that will lead to the best end for themselves, would be courageous. In this way, prudence ensures that the virtues are never vices. Virtue cannot exist without prudence, as prudence is what allows for good action, and virtue is dependent on action. According to Aristotle, virtue will tend to the doing of the acts by which they are produced. With prudence, good action itself is its end. Prudence is the virtue that defines virtue. Without prudence, virtue cannot be good, as it cannot be acted on justly without prudence. Prudence is the most important virtue in politics, as it is the moral vision to form a good city, as it is the political art. In the political art, practical wisdom, which plays a controlling part, is legislative wisdom. Prudence leads to what is best for a city. Great statesmen, like Pericles, can see what is best for the city because they have strong prudence. In the movie Gladiator, Commodus is a great example of a lack of prudence. We see him as a weak ruler, only concerned with the games of the Colosseum. We must all hope to be prudent like Solomon in our lives. Considering Solomon's excellence of prudence in his case of the two mothers and the baby, we may also find the solutions to our own unsolvable puzzles.
Okay.